So let's talk about the typical forces that we are going to be using in this course when we study forces. So the typical forces that we're going to be dealing with. So we are going to have weight, and weight is just the gravitational pull on an object. It always points down, so it's a vector that always points down towards the center of the Earth. So is what causes the acceleration of gravity. So if you have a projectile motion, then the weight still points down. If you have a ball that is rolling, the weight points down. So it always points down. So that is one force. So another type of force that is going to appear is spring forces. So if you have an object attached to a spring, like this one here, then there's going to be a force on the object due to the spring. The agent is the spring, and the object that receives the force is this box here. So if you are compressing the spring, then the spring pushes in this direction. If you are stretching the spring pushes in this direction, contrary to the so this force is a restoring force. A tension force is a name for forces that are produced by ropes. So this is the agent here, is the rope, and then typically we are going to draw the force as an arrow in the direction of the rope. We also have normal forces. This is a force that causes a lot of confusion, and basically here we have a book that is resting on a table. So the table is exerting a force on the book that pushes up. So then that force we call the normal force. So that is a typical force that a surface exerts on an object. For instance, if you have a wall, right, and this is your hand pushing on the wall, then the wall is going to exert a normal force on your hand that is horizontal, right? So that is the normal force. The normal force may appear in many directions depending on the surface that is producing the force. Here we have a skier, right? So he's going down a slope, and so this is the surface, right? This is the agent producing the force. This is the object, and then the normal force is just a force that is perpendicular to the surface. Whenever you have a surface and an object resting on that surface, then there is a normal force perpendicular to the surface, and that is the way we draw that force. Friction. Friction is like the normal force, but it's exerted by the surface. And friction, the main effect of friction is that it slows down things. So we have two types of friction. We're going to have kinetic friction. That is a friction that you would see when objects are moving. And we have a static friction. That is a friction that you would see when objects are just at rest. And we'll see examples of those. For now, let's remember there is friction, and friction could come as kinetic friction or static friction. So here we have examples of kinetic friction. So he is moving, this boy is moving, and so he has a velocity, and there is a friction, right? There is a friction that is slowing him down. So that friction is an example of a kinetic friction. Typically we denote that by Fk, so that is just a convention. And here we have a box. This box is not moving, but she's pulling. So there is a force acting on the box. There is a tension due to this rope and her pull, but the box is not moving. So there is a friction force acting on the box, and that friction force is called a static friction because the box is not moving. Drag is similar to friction, and it's a force that slows you down and is caused by air resistance. Drag is a very important force when it comes to objects that are moving, like cars, like bicycles. So in many problems we are going to neglect air resistance. So if you have to use drag, I'll explicitly tell you to do so. And finally, we have thrust. Thrust is a type of force that you would see in rockets, maybe airplanes. So thrust is just the force produced by the gas or the fuel of the rocket being burned. So this is another example of a force. And the last type of force that you'll see maybe a little more when you study in your next class of physics is electricity and magnetism. These are like gravity, long-range forces, and they have many effects in life, many important effects.